Okay, we're talking about the stock market and what's happening. Jim Cramer is advising calm amid market uncertainty. So you know what that means. Don't panic. But you know, I would say now's the time to not panic, but to be visibly concerned for a situation that is understandably out of my control and out of your control. Now, I got to give a huge shout out to my audience. Hey, first of all, a lot of us, I saw the comments in another video that I did. Hey, I'm not involved in the stock market, so it's not going to affect me. Well, prices rising up will affect us. So while we may not be losing our pants, the 1% are losing their pants, but because the whole system is rigged, there's cheat codes in which, okay, companies might go belly up, firms might shut down, and banks might be in trouble. But you know what that means? Who bails them out? You. All my other countless viewers that are watching the show. You are the ones that are going to be bailing them out. You are the ones that are going to be bleeding out. You are the ones that are going to be held accountable for the actions of these jagoff people. Thank you, Bill Clinton, for getting rid of the Glass-Steagall Act. Thank you, Democrat and Republican president and Democrat U.S. senators and House representatives writing bills and legislations to benefit our corporate overlords, your corporate masters, too. Now, there's been talk about a 90-day tariff pause. First of all, that is fake news. Fake news. Okay. Do not believe in the 90-day tariff because this is from Unusual Whales. There was a fake news headline that Trump is reportedly expecting to announce a 90-day tariff pause. It was shared on X, and CNBC and Reuters shared it. Always double check, please, folks. The White House has denied this now. This post has been edited to reflect that. So, see, hold on. First of all, I like this. Long-term investors feeling whiplash about headlines should internalize this. Less media equals more happiness. See, now that would be nice. Now I want to pull this video up here because this is where the breaking news about the fake news headline about a 90-day pause.
Tells me it is quote unquote fake news that the White House is considering a 90-day pause. So the White House pouring cold water on this idea, wherever it came from, that they're considering a 90-day pause on tariffs, saying that the president is committed to his tariff regime, and any reports that he's considering a 90-day pause are, quote, fake news. That from the White House press secretary on the record just a short time ago to me on the cell phone here as we try to sort through where this came from and why it is that the market became convinced that might be a possibility. The White House saying it is not a possibility, Carl.
So, yes, and I also wanted to change the background now here, too, just to maybe add in some humor in this very scary, frightening situation that we are in. Trump has also went on the state, and this came out on Sunday on News Nation. President Trump has no interest in negotiating in other countries over the new tariffs unless they're willing to fix the deficit problem. Let's go ahead and play this video, folks. Hold on to your butts.
Market has spoken when they look at the fact that we have $1 billion trade deficit. When you look at the trade deficit that we have with certain countries, way over $1 billion per country. But with China, it's $1 trillion. And we have to solve our trade deficit with China. We have $1 trillion trade deficit with China. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year we lose with China. And unless we solve that problem, I'm not going to make a deal. Now, I'm willing to deal with China, but they have to solve their surplus. We have a tremendous deficit problem with China. They have a surplus of at least $1 trillion a year. I think it's like $1.1 trillion. And I want that solved. And no other president's taken it on. I had to take it on the last time that we had a rigged election. No other president's taken it on. And so China is, they say the market's spoken. China is right now taking a big hit because everyone knows we're right. They have to pay tariffs because otherwise we have a surplus and they have a surplus with us that is not sustainable.
Mr. President.
Now, I want to acknowledge this super chat. First super chat of the morning. Thank you so much for it. We do appreciate it. Janice Anderson tipped $4.99. Kramer lied to his audience back in 2006, 2008 about the asset-backed securities being safe investments. We should do the opposite of what he says today. Now, he's saying don't panic, don't panic, don't panic. I am going to say, please don't panic, but be on survival mode. Is that acceptable? I'm not going to tell you everything's going to be all right, but by crying and holding your hands, it's not going to fix the issue. It won't. I'm so sorry. It won't fix the issue. It won't fix the issue. We are in for some very questionable, dangerous times. Case in point right here. This is from Hotspot. Over 2.1 trillion wiped out from the U.S. stock market at open this morning. Everything's in the red. Call your mom. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to retweet this out. Live on air. Call your mom and tell her you love her. There you go. There you go. Call your mom and tell her you love her. Okay? There you go. That's what I'm going to do later today. I'm going to call my mom and tell her, hey, mom, I love you. All right? Because, you know, even here's the thing. I got family members who live overseas. You know, I got friends who live overseas, just trying to get by. And what I noticed before I went to sleep Sunday evening, Asian markets tumbling.
We're talking about $1 trillion. You know that, right? We're not going to lose $1 trillion for the privilege of buying pencils from China. But I do want to solve the deficit problem that we have with China, with the European Union and other nations. And they're going to have to do that. And if they want to talk about that, I'm open to talking. But otherwise, why would I want to talk? And as you know, because of the tariffs, we have $7 trillion already committed to be invested in the United States, building auto plants, building chip companies, and all sorts of companies are coming into our country at levels that we've never seen before. Biden had nothing coming in. This was a dead country with Biden. He didn't know what he was doing.
Yes, here's the thing, though. As someone who watches podcasts on ancient empires, such as Fall of Civilization podcast, I am noticing a horrific similarity. You have empires that rise really high and then eventually have a fall. And all empires seem to have that economic struggle. This was brought up too when Trump was asked about the tariffs and how it's causing hardship. Sometimes you got to take medicine and it's going to hurt.
Which is what it should be.
Now I'm going to rewind this real quick. The audio is a little low on this, but I'll raising up the volume. But listen to this.
In the world.
Mr. President,
Which is what it should be.
is there a Trump put though? Is there pain in the market at some point you're unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put? Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I mean, I think I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. And we have such a horrible, we have been treated so badly by other countries because we had stupid leadership that allowed this to happen.
Not good. Now, of course, let's listen to what Jim Cramer has to say. Now, he gave this warning, I believe, yesterday or over the weekend, and he's also telling people don't panic. I think now's the time to be aware of your surroundings. When I say keep your heads on a swivel, and I better see swivel heads in the live stream chat and in the comment section, this is the time to do so. Remember on Friday when I said, hey, if you haven't done so already, fill up your car, full tank of gas, and buy your groceries. Do it now. Okay? Do it now. Do it now. For the love of God, do it now. Okay? After the show, of course. Or you can listen to me on the road. But if you didn't take my advice on Friday or Saturday or Sunday, consider doing it today, just in case. Don't panic buy, but just make sure you got enough to get you through, just a little, maybe a couple of weeks here and there. Just make sure you're okay, because prices might be rising up, and we might be in for a hurting.
The president doesn't try to reach out and reward these countries and companies that play by the rules in the 1987 scenario, the one where we went down 3 days and then down 22% on Monday, has the most cogency. We will not have to wait out too long, will we? We'll know by Monday. Fortunately, we had an excellent set of employment numbers today. At least it makes it less likely a crash will necessarily lead to a recession. But if President Trump stays intransigent and does nothing to ameliorate the damage that I saw these last 2 days, I'm not going to be constructive here. I will contain my anger, but only because I lived through 87, and in the end, I came out okay. I was in cash for the crash. I know what this feels like. Oh, and if Europe moves against our fabulous tech companies next week, then I will be furious. That I promise you, because it should not happen. The president doesn't try to.
Now, I also want to pull up another video here, too, where Howard Lutnick says the EU won't take chicken from America. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak. Someone has to explain this to our boy Lutwick, that the EU doesn't take U.S. meat because it's filled with the dangerous hormones and everything else here, folks. I think we're in for a big fight.
I mean, the European Union won't take chicken from America. They won't take lobsters from America. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak. I mean, the European Union.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy, indeed. Now, while this may not be entirely involved, Mrs. Stonks, I want to play this person's video because I had to comment on it. And this is from the Benny Show. Losing money costs you nothing. Losing money costs you everything. Losing money hurts. Losing money is pain. Losing money is suffering, okay? And it's not being greedy or avarice, but you do need money to live, folks.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons actually by losing money. Losing your character costs you everything. Losing your country costs you everything. There are things you can't get back. The government can print more money, and it will. Sadly, that's just the reality. It's fugazi, it's fugazi. It's just so there's a boom and a bust every 10 years, and it's been that way since the invention of modern markets in the 1600s. The Dutch crash of 1649. You ever heard of it? It's just the way that it works. It's the way that like monetary policy has always worked. There's going to be ups and downs, especially as the table gets reset. If you lose the character of your country, if your town gets hollowed out, give me that photo of that town, man. Give me the photo of that town in West Virginia. Your town gets hollowed out, and your entire neighborhood gets addicted to opioids, and your steel mill shuts down, and your farmers can't grow crops, and there's no more cattle ranchers, there's no more cowboys, there's no more fishers, there's no more workers, and we're completely and totally dependent upon slave labor peasants across Asia to make every good.
I just want to point out here, the reason why things are the way they are, the reason why, when my family, we would drive to Indiana or we would drive somewhere else when I was a kid and see abandoned factories in towns, is because of the policies that were implemented by Democrat and Republican lawmakers. And now we're trying to reverse something that happened decades ago. It never should have happened in the first place. We never should have gotten rid of Glass-Steagall. We never should have allowed money in politics to be a thing. We never should have allowed these politicians to run us around. We never should have allowed the corporations to control our media. And here we are. I want to pull up this live stream chat here too. Thank you, Janice Anderson, for your generosity. We appreciate all the people commenting on our channel. Crash won't lead to recession. He's actually correct, because we've been in recession since 2008. The crash will lead to a full depression. And also shout out to John Michael. Thank you for your generosity. The EU won't take our beef because there are no mad cow in our beef. Denny Crane. Scary times.
Service and pharmaceutical, then you've actually lost your country. And then we are the slaves. There you go. This is West Virginia. And it's so sad that this was a factory that provided thousands of honest, good-hearted, steel-working jobs for our fellow countrymen. And it was ripped. The guts of it got ripped out and shipped by people like Mitch McConnell so that they could make a couple extra points in their portfolio to get stock swaps with Pan-Asian countries. And they sold out their countrymen. And I call that traitorism, actually. I think that's the definition of a traitor. You can lose money. You can lose points in your portfolio. It costs you absolutely nothing. You won't miss them when you're dead. Nobody ever had their net worth carved onto their tombstone.
Well, if you can afford a tombstone now. Hey, who could afford to get buried? Because trust me, as someone who had to deal with the deaths of 2 relatives, it's very pricey. It's extremely expensive. Dealing with a loved one who is suffering from cancer or Alzheimer's, that gets pretty pricey. You yourself with a medical issue, that gets pricey. Oh no, you got laid off. You got to survive, but nobody's hiring. A store got shut down. Communities being shut down. People being evicted. Homelessness on the rise. It's pretty pricey right there. It's expensive to be broke in the USA. There is no certainty out there.
Doesn't even matter when you're on your deathbed. Who cares? It's just digits on a ledger. What will matter is, did you preserve your nation for your children? Did you view your country as something more than just an economic zone and tax cattle and slaves to China? Put that up, President Trump. No crying in the casino. Is it really? I don't care. It's too good. Final point I'll make on this is, who's the slave and who's the master?
Yeah, no crying in the casino. I agree. Yeah, don't cry in the casino. If you're going to go to casino, you better get ready for the casino to bend you over and stick it up your wazoo. But then there's another thing of, oh no, what's dad? What's mom? What's grandpappy or grandma doing with our life savings? Oh no, they're rolling the dice. And them being the matriarch or patriarch of the family gambles it all away. Trump is doing a very serious gamble. Now, is this an overreaction? Well, I think the way markets are going and the way people remember 2008 and everything else in between 2008 and up until now, people are on edge. Because what does this mean if there's a full-blown, full-on fallout and destruction of our economy? It means times will get tough. One story in particular that I remember from 2008 was how families were, again, this should never happen, but there were reports of people abandoning their kids or driving them to other states just to drop them off at an adoption facility. You know? I mean, these are things that happen. And when people do get desperate, when people start panicking, they're on full-blown survival mode.
You know, if your pharmaceutical and automobile and phone, all the wires in your home, every electronic in your home, if everything that you use in your life is wholly and totally built by a foreign power that hates you, then you're the slave. You've always thought of America as the master of the world or as like an empire. It's not. Not if we are totally dependent and on our knees before these third world goblin dictatorships.
Well, it's more than that. More than that, because it's not just goblin dictatorships. Because what's happening right now, 2.1 trillion wiped out. You do realize that this burden can be shifted upon us. I want to pull up this article here. U.S. President Donald Trump late Sunday openly embraced the global chaos sparked by his sweeping tariffs, careering headlong into a potential catastrophic trade war as worldwide financial markets plummeted and American retirees began to panic. This isn't good. In a post on his social media platform, Trump declared that his tariffs are already in effect and a beautiful thing to behold. Someday, people realize that tariffs for the United States of America are a very beautiful thing. Trump is making a serious gamble here. Now, I'm just going to say this out here. Ideally, I don't want this trade war to go on. I wish that we were not in this economic hardship. And I understand what he's trying to do, but it may not be successful. Trump wrote as recent retirees and people near retirement express fear and astonishment at the swift damage the president's policy decisions have done to their investment accounts. One retiree, a 68-year-old former occupation health worker in New Jersey, told NBC News that she's just kind of stunned with so much money in the market. We just sort of have to hope we have enough time to recover. Yeah. What we've been doing is trying to enjoy the time that we have, but you want to be able to make it last, the retiree identified as Paula said on Friday. I have no confidence here. I'm going to pause here for a second because I want to just say this. We're all going to have to make do with the time that we have. There's a lot of uncertainty right now, and the way this economy is happening, the way this economy is being run, and the way the markets are currently responding, because as I keep on refreshing the page, we're seeing more live updates. Stocks are making wild swings, and European stocks tank 3%. And this has all to deal with the tariffs that are going on currently in that's being implemented by Donald Trump. And it's very sad to see that many retirees and many of us may never enjoy retirement. That's the real possibility. Work until you're dead. You know what's everyone's biggest regret on their deathbed is? I wish I didn't work so much. So much for the happy ending. Please, folks, don't get desperate and start playing the lottery. That's gambling too, and that doesn't help you. Gambling does not help. It does not help. It will add to more pain. Just trust me on it. I know these things. I've known people that have been addicted to gambling. It doesn't help. Don't go to the lottery route. It will build false hope. Trump's post doubling down on his tariff regime came as Asian markets cratered and U.S. stock futures opened bright red, signaling that Monday will bring another broad sell-off in equities. One of Trump's top economic advisors claimed in a Sunday interview that the president is not intentionally crashing the stock market, even as Trump, returning from a weekend of golf outing in Florida, characterized the tariffs as medicine. I don't want anything to go down, the president said, no pun intended. But sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. Bloomberg's John Others wrote early Sunday that if the 4.8% fall in S&P 500 futures at the Asian opening isn't reversed, then it's on course for its worst three-day sell-off since Black Monday crash of October 1987. Who remembers 1987? I was born in 85, so I was already 2 years old at the time, and little did I know I would be in for a roller coaster ride of ups and downs with the neoliberal system. Though the stock market and the economy are not synonymous, economist John Bevins recently noted that they are currently mirroring each other. Stock market weakness is reflecting broader economic weakness. While the stock market isn't the economy, the stock market declines we have seen in recent weeks are generally worrying, wrote Bevins. So we're here. We're right now witnessing this. And my fear, I think all of our fears, is, well, what comes next? How do we bail out of this? How do we get out of this? How do we stand up on our own two legs? Well, community outreach, community organization, helping each other, building, again, strong alliances with ourselves. Now, I know there's been a lot of conservatives who've been saying, well, the market's been struggling. Especially it was worse under Joe Biden. And I get it. And there's right now been a little bit of a uptick. But we don't know how long or damaging these tariffs will be. And that's my counter to that. Yeah, I will agree. From 2022 to 2023, markets we're down under Joe Biden. That's very true, and that's very clear. However, and I just want to expand this even further, this is what we are witnessing as a final kicking the can down the road. Sooner or later, there's going to be a full-on kaboom. What is left to stand? You know, I do remember a lot of people asking, hey, whatever happened to that Fort Knox gold? Whatever happened to all that money? Do we have enough cash liquidity? What's going to happen to all the Bitcoin out there? I know there's people asking, well, what's going on with Bitcoin? What's going on with Bitcoin? I want to pull this up here. Dow Jones is 800 points in wild session after 1,700 point loss earlier in session. So while all these live updates are happening, U.S. stocks seesawed in a volatile trading session Monday as the White House remained defiant even after President Donald Trump's rollout of shockingly high tariff rates on most key U.S. trading partners has caused a market meltdown. Stocks mounted a short-lived rally shortly after the open that took the Dow Jones Industrial Average into positive territory. Call your mother. Speculation of some sort of tariff pause circulated on trading floors and social media and may have contributed to the pop. However, that was fake news, as we have reported earlier. Major averages then fell again as the session continued. The S&P 500 lost 1.7% of its earlier lows that briefly brought into bear market territory. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 920 points, or 2.4%, following back-to-back 1,500 point losses for the first time ever and end last week. The Dow was down 1,700 points at the lows of the session. The Nasdaq Composite declined 1.4%, falling further into bear territory. How wonderful. Trump's initial unilateral 10% tariff went into effect Saturday. Investors were hoping for news over the weekend that the Trump administration was having successful negotiations with other countries to lower the tariff rates, or at the very least was considering delaying the set of so-called reciprocal tariffs due to take effect on April 9th. Instead, the president and his key advisors played down the sell-off. So we're all in some struggling here, okay? Lawrence Fine, I will die on my feet working. That's not good. Please, folks, don't worry. Hey, think about this. Mastermind Hour, one of our moderators wrote, Nancy Pelosi is 50 million poor today. So silver linings. We got to take our silver linings somewhere, don't we? I think we do. It's always going to be that. We have to take our silver linings somewhere. But also, this is also something that has happened. And I want to pull this up here because this is also from our president. Breaking. President Trump vows to increase tariffs on China to 50% tomorrow if they fail to withdraw their retaliatory tariffs. Trump says negotiations with other countries are taking place immediately. So, yesterday, China issued retaliatory tariffs on 34% of their record-setting tariffs, non-monetary tariffs, illegal subsidization of companies, and massive long-term currency manipulation. Despite my warning that any country that retaliates against the U.S. by issuing additional tariffs above and beyond their already existing long-term tariff abuse of our nation will be immediately met with new and substantially higher tariffs over and above those initially set. Therefore, if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April 8th, 2025, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50% effective April 9th. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries which have also requested meetings will begin taking place immediately. Thank you for attention to this matter. This is an extreme calculative risk here that we're witnessing. And even then, I'm seeing more updates happening. There's more panic. There's more concern. There's more of the seesaw effect. And this is how panic happens. And this is how people also get hurt, because in turn, a lot of us are in the range of these stonks that are going down, these stonks that are again imploding. Is this the full-on end of our neoliberal system? Well, I know there's a couple of people out there that are applauding, but this looks like how our government, once again, continues to go along. We continue to be stepped on. We as people continue to be suppressed and silenced. And we as citizens always have to be the ones left holding the bag. I don't like that. Now, we have seen and heard a lot of people give the warnings about this economic collapse that we're having, that this was long overdue. But this is also what happens when you have the fake illusion of choice by voting Team Red or Team Blue, Democrat or Republican. This is what happens when you have people that are so used to thinking that their party has the best plan. And this is what happens when we give our silent, obedient consent to a political system that is only beholden to its corporate owners. And even then, you might see me looking right here at my second screen, and I'm looking at the second screen here too, and I'm refreshing it right now as we speak. I am looking at it right now as it's being played out. Still more panic. And all of you could see it. More live updates, more panic, more concern. Where does it stop? When does it stop? It's a seesaw effect. What happens tomorrow? We're not in a recession, folks. We could be crossing into a depression. The politicians won't save us. They're going to tell us that we got to bail out the banks again. How do you feel?